El Muerto.
Yes,
The
El Muerto.
Headless Horseman.
Right.
What's that all about?
He is the Headless Horseman of the Southwest. I had heard the legend many times over the years, but just recently I've been doing a lot of new research into stuff, and I found some historical tidbits that just kind of blew my mind because I found the historical basis and background to this Headless Horseman story. And this actually took place in the 1800s, in the year 1850. This was around South Texas, around the area of Uvalde. There was a horse thief named Vidal. He only went by this one name, and he was really terrorizing the area. You had this other guy who was a Texas Ranger. His name was Creed Taylor. Now, he had a ranch outside of San Antonio, and this guy's getting pretty tired of having his cattle and his horses stolen, every other week. As a Texas Ranger, he'd be called out quite often to leave the ranch and go and address different issues that were happening around the area. So his ranch being unprotected was a target for these thieves, especially this one guy. And he was pretty tired of it. So this one time he decided to stay home instead of following the call from the Rangers, just to see if he could catch this person that was stealing his cattle.
So did he pretend that he was going?
Yes.
And then he stayed back?
Okay.
Right, because Creed Taylor was usually the guy that would lead the Rangers. And at this particular time, there was some Comanche Indians that were causing some issues in a nearby settlement. So it was assumed that he would lead everybody and go and take care of that.
Okay.
But he decided to went ahead and stayed back. Now the thieves came through and, of course, took a bunch of cattle, and he went ahead and followed them. He was like undercover on the down low, and he followed them. As he's doing this, he runs into one of his neighbors, a guy by the name of Bigfoot Wallace. This guy is pretty legendary in his own right. If you're into Texas Ranger lore, you'll know his name.
Because of his big feet, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Huge feet.
You know what they say? Big feet,
Uh-huh.
big shoes.
Big shoes.
Right.
Yes.
Big saddle.
Hat, big saddle.
That's right.
Yes.
So these two ran into each other while he's tracking these horse thieves, and they decide to deal with it together. They did discover the camp of the thieves. They waited until nightfall, and then they snuck in, ambushed, and killed everyone in the camp.
Including Vidal?
Yes, they killed Mr.
The
Vidal.
one named horse thief?
Right, killed everybody.
Wow.
But it goes way further than that, and this is the crazy part. They were pretty tired of having to deal with this issue over and over again. They had tried pretty extreme measures to discourage this kind of thing. They would string them up along the fence line, so you'd be driving by and seeing these horrible bodies hanging and things like of that nature, trying to discourage these things from happening. But it wasn't really working, so they decided to step it up. So old Bigfoot Wallace took Vidal's body and beheaded it. Then he took the body and they caught themselves a wild Mustang. They put a saddle on it, put this headless body on the saddle. They tied the hands to the pommel of the saddle, tied the body into the saddle. Then they took the head, put it into his sombrero, and they tied it in with leather strips and hung it off the side of the saddle. Hit the horse on the butt, and the horse takes off running into the plains with this headless body basically attached to
Oh
it.
my God.
Now, this horse ran around out in the plains of Texas, around the Uvalde area, for years. And so this is what's actually started these rumors of there's a headless horseman in southwestern Texas. There actually really was a legitimate headless horseman. Little did people know this is a corpse tied to a horse running around. So years and years pass. There were some pioneers that finally cornered this horse at a watering hole and were able to get the body and cut the body off and remove it. Now, when they did so, this is the wild part that blows my mind. The body had been completely 100% mummified by this point, and they said it had about 100 arrows and 200 bullet holes in it.
Man.
Yeah, because people would see
Exactly.
it, and
So
they would take shots at
right.
it.
So you can imagine seeing that, especially like maybe you're at your campfire at night and you hear this galloping horse coming, and you're who's approaching, and you see a headless guy with the head hanging down by the side on a sombrero. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to shoot at the thing and
Well, yeah.
run in terror. So this thing had been terrorizing people on the plains for years and years and years. They did remove the body. They buried it in Benbolt, Texas, which was the nearest town to where they corralled the horse. He is buried in an unmarked grave in a little cemetery in Benbolt. But to this day, people do still say, they see El Muerto out there. Every couple of years, you hear of another sighting. it just goes on and on.
It could possible. It could be looking for its head.
Exactly.
You know?
Right.
Wow.
But it just blows my mind to have found this historical fact behind the story, and just to think that there was actually a headless horseman really running around in the plains. It's just like, wow. History is so cool. I love history.
Yeah.
You
Weird
do, don't
history,
you?
yes.
Especially the weird
Yes,
history.
I love it.
Now, you've also done a lot of research about Concordia Cemetery.
Right.
And we're going to find out some of the stuff that she's going to